Thank you for joining me on my live this morning. I sincerely do appreciate you joining me. This is Estate Media on YouTube. Kindly click on the subscribe button in there where we get to update you of happenings across the globe. This is the one-stop channel where we give you objective, updated information, what's going on around you and obviously outside your comfort zone. So make sure that you actually subscribe and click. Now, let's start off with this. I'm sure you all know about the military takeover in Guinea-Bissau. Yes. So apparently, our former president, Jonathan, is currently trapped in Guinea-Bissau after the recent Wednesday's coup by the West African nation's military. Jonathan is in Guinea-Bissau as part of the team of 36 high-profile observers on the joint mission of the African Union, the Economic Community of West African States, and the West African Elders Forum to monitor the presidential election held on Sunday. He is trapped in the country alongside other African leaders, including the former president of Mozambique, Philip Jacinto Inyusi. So while the military takeover has brought a lot of attention to the country, with flights in and out of Guinea-Bissau suspended, Jonathan and the other leaders are said to be safe in their hotel rooms as of Wednesday night, with authorities offering no exit plans. For now, there is no exit plan. Jonathan is actually stuck in there while the Nigerian ambassadors as well as other security personnel devise a means through which they could leave the country. Whenever there is a military takeover like that, there's always a no-flight zone. You can't go out and you can't come in. Now, speaking of the military takeover in Guinea-Bissau, as to what happened, the information that we gathered as of yesterday, this happened in the early afternoon. The announcement was made by General Dennis Nchaha, who is the head of the Presidential Military Office. He told members of the press that a command composed of all branches of the armed forces was taking over the leadership of the country until further notice. Now, according to him, while he was reading the statement in his declaration, he said that they had uncovered a plan to destabilize the country involving national drug lords that had included the introduction of weapons into the country to alter the constitutional order. In addition to halting the entire electoral process, he said military forces had suspended all media programming and imposed a mandatory curfew. This statement followed the military takeover. The AU and ECOWAS missions bemoaned that the military announcement came not long after meeting the two leading presidential candidates and extracting the assurances to abide by the will of the people. They further demanded that the armed forces immediately release the detained officials of the Electoral Commission for them to conclude the electoral process. So it's quite unfortunate that most Central African nations and some West African nations are already falling into the hands of the military. And this is a warning for the Nigerian government. If they feel incapable of handling the security situation in the country, the security situation in the country has deteriorated to the point that Nigerians have resorted to protecting themselves. I saw a video yesterday where some of the residents took it upon themselves as vigilantes and they fortified themselves, they fortified themselves spiritually. So when the terrorists came around, they shot at them, but the bullets did not penetrate. We also saw in Port Harcourt how some persons were caught, Fulani headsmen or Fulani terrorists as they're called, or persons from the Fulani ethnic group who were caught in Port Harcourt. A lot of them actually, and there are talks that they've actually invaded most of the nooks and crannies in some certain regions of the country. There are also conspiracy theories that this could be an overwhelming plan by some terrorist organization sponsored by some international communities like Iran, or the forces of ISIS and Al-Qaeda to take over Nigeria, being the fact that it is a multi-religious and multi-ethnic country. So the plan is actually to create cells in all regions and forcibly take over the country, compel the hand of the presidency to hand over to a Muslim who will definitely impose Nigeria as an Islamic nation. Obviously, Nigerians have been battling it and saying that will not take place and they're not going to support that. But the unfortunate situation is that insecurity has degenerated to the point that it feels the country does not know what to do. It's also very alarming and worrisome that the development has deteriorated, that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria just yesterday evening had to declare a state of emergency nationwide. Some Nigerians have bemoaned at that declaration by saying that he ought to have declared a state of emergency in states that have repeatedly experienced consistent attacks for the past 2 weeks, specifically ever since President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump, declared Nigeria as a country of particular concern and stated that there will be a military invasion to rout out the terrorists within their enclaves. So far, the Nigerian government has really not said anything about from the fact that there is a collaborative conversation between the Nigerian government and the American government to see how they can, through their partnership, look for a kinetic approach, all right, in handling insecurity in Nigeria. Also, Trump had declared that there will be some aid cut off from Nigeria. However, the Nigerian government, through the DSS as well as the National Security Advisor headed by Nuhu Ribadu, are looking for alternative means to counter that. Some of the aids would be resorted to IDP camps and other enclaves that are quite vulnerable at this time, also to provide more weapons to fight terrorists. And just yesterday, what a particular truck conveying conveying to a particular region, one of the northern states, some weapons, that is some bullets, were seen dropping down on that truck. The Nigerian military has told us that they're investigating it. Well, as it stands right now, President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu has said that the National Assembly should expedite the motion for what you call state police. They should enact it as fast as possible and declare a nationwide security emergency. He ordered the army, police, and intelligence services to immediately expand recruitment, deploy thousands of additional personnel. He also urged the National Assembly to initiate the process of legalizing state police to tackle the escalating wave of kidnappings and terrorist attacks across the country in the past weeks. But in a rare departure from the usual solidarity with the executive, several senators and House of Rep members criticized the federal government for negotiating with bandits or terrorists for the release of hostages seized in separate attacks in Kwara and Kebbi states. One of the lawmakers did not find it funny yesterday. He's actually an APC member. He bemoaned the activity of these terrorists and said that they cannot continue in that line, and that as soon as possible, the measure that will be applied to curtail the activities of these individuals needs to come with brutal force. It also came with the fact that while Nigerians are trying to get themselves together and understand the pathway to remaining liberated, these individuals of darkness, or whatever you want to term them, have decided to shackle the nation and put everyone at fear. Some of the lawmakers said that the president ought not to have declared that the police attached to some VIPs should be detached from them. He says because it keeps them vulnerable to attacks from these terrorists. A lot of them who travel by road with this escort, it kind of protects them. If the president detaches this policeman from them, then they are actually open to the attack of these individuals. And Nigerians are like, so you don't want to be vulnerable to the attacks of those guys, but people who do not have money, who do not have the means, who do not have the connections, are the ones who will be left vulnerable and exposed to the attacks of these individuals. Is that what you're saying, that your life is more precious and more important than the Nigerian who doesn't have the money, who doesn't have the connection, or who is not in the House of Rep just like you? Let's take a listen to the senator who lamented, literally bemoaned, the state of insecurity in the country.
To mistake me for an opposition. I am not an opposition. I am a member of the APC, ruling APC in Nigeria. I am also a member, by extension, of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A member of this great parliament also, which has the APC as a dominant factor. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I have to say so because I will be speaking here today as a member of the APC, not of particular concern, but with a particular concern. An APC member speaking with a particular concern, Mr. Speaker. And the concern today, as I understand, is about the security of lives and property of the Nigerian people. Mr. Speaker, I have heard briefs and submissions by the relevant committee chairman here about the situation of Nigeria's security architecture. Good, Mr. Speaker, I am not out to say no to their submissions. Of course, that is what they have to report to this House. But when you are speaking, Mr. Speaker, from the point of view of Nigerian people, one must be prepared to call a spade a spade. Mr. Speaker, I am therefore prepared to say that no matter what the government does, my government, led by BOLA Ahmed Tinubu, the APC government, my party, and despite all the submissions of the efforts of all security agencies that were meant here through their respective chairmen, I want to say that yes, the government is doing its best. The security agencies are doing their best. But I want to say with every sense of responsibility and without any fear of equivocation that their best is not good enough. It is not good enough because the security situation in Nigeria today, Mr. Speaker, it is horrific. Mr. Speaker, our security situation is tragic. Mr. Speaker, the security situation, especially in the north where I come from, is devastating. Mr. Speaker, our situation in Nigeria today in the area of security is unspeakable. It's unspeakable because our people are left ravished in serious tension, fear, and desperation, all because we are lacking and urinating in our institutional and collective responsibility as a government. Mr. Speaker, the fact remains the same, and like every one of you here would say, that the responsibility of every democratic or elected government, even military governments, Mr. Speaker, fundamental responsibility of government is the security of lives and property of its own people. Mr. Speaker, what we have today is like a failed security. What we have today, in my opinion and in my views, Mr. Speaker, is like for me to quote in the words of the popular Bob Marley in his own song in those days in the 80s, when he was saying, war in the north, war in the west, war in the east, and war down south. Mr. Speaker, today, Nigeria is operating under a complete war against humanity. And this House must not only continue to chant slogans, move motions, take contributions from members. We must have to step up and rise up to the expectation of our own people. And that expectation must be beyond making pronouncement on the floor. Mr. Speaker, we have to step our institutional mandate. We have to step our institutional commitment and determination to protect the lives of the vulnerable people. Mr. Speaker, you rightly said in your remarks that you were in Kebbi State, as God may have it, Mr. Speaker. I went to Kebbi with you. I saw how the governor of Kebbi, who is the chief security officer of the state, speaking to the delegation of this honorable house in nostalgia, Mr. Speaker, with a very heavy heart. At a point, I would not miss to say, I will not be mistaken to say that I saw the governor weeping in the heart. This will be the same situation everywhere you go, in the south or in the north or in the east or down in the west. Mr. Speaker, our governors are not only overwhelmed, it's like they cannot even do it. The responsibility of security, Mr. Speaker, of course, by the constitutional provisions, it is a sole responsibility, more of a sole responsibility to the center. I agree with whoever may say, of course, governors in the sub-nationals are also accountable and they must be held responsible for the security of lives and properties of their people. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in virtually all of our constituencies, given the opportunity, everyone here can rise to tell you the account of what is happening. Mr. Speaker, it is not religious. Mr. Speaker, it is not even political. This fight and this menace of insecurity in Nigeria is something that does not have any identification of one's party or one's religion or one's tribe whatsoever. It is a calculated attempt to demoralize Nigerian state. And if care is not taken, Mr. Speaker, even for those of us who take politics more seriously, we'll have a very big question to answer at the end, because it is like this unnecessary insecurity going on. This is a high level of conspiracy targeting our political processes. As we are approaching 2027, Mr. Speaker, we will all be expected to have a peaceful conduct of our polls. How do you have that if our communities, local communities, are plunged into crisis, into banditry, into kidnappings in the churches, in the mosque, even down in the oil producing area, which is our economic life wire?
Now, there are talks that the reason why we're experiencing this sporadic spate of insecurity across the country is because the plan is that there'll be voter apathy in 2027 due to fear in certain communities where they record the highest number of votes. Opposition may not be able to come out, and that the elections will be completely manipulated to the, will I say, edge, to give the edge of the APC, to give the APC an edge to win elections in 2027. Others also debunked that insinuation or that line of thought that it's not possible to use people in such a large number for collateral damage just because you want to win elections in 2027. But the sporadic situation happening in several communities where this current government may actually have the wide majority of votes, and obviously some northern regions who have been opposing that they are not comfortable, or that the administration of President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu has not benefited them anyway. These communities are the ones actually hugely affected by insecurity. We have what's going on in the north central with Benue, Kwara, Kebbi, Kogi State. The attacks in such communities have been consistent, sporadic, precise, and obviously affirmative. In other words, you actually thump down on the will of these people to participate in the pro-voting process for 2027 by displacing them from their communities, making such communities deserted, and at the same time creating a huge sense of voter apathy. A lot of them may not be able to get their PVCs or collect their voters' cards. So this way, they're disenfranchised, and the elections will be rigged for certain purposes for 2027. Be that as it may, President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu has come out to say, we will not tolerate the activities of these individuals. I have decided to take it upon myself to ensure that security is my forte, and I would work on it. We haven't heard the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, speak on condemning all of these terrorist activities. The idea between the two persons was that Kashim Shettima will handle security, President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu will handle economy. Unfortunately, it feels that the Vice President has failed in that regard to live up to the expectation of fighting insecurity, upholding the security of the nation, while the President focuses completely on rejuvenating the economy. So far, we haven't heard anything being said by His Excellency Alhaji Kashim Shettima, who is an APC candidate. Nigerians have come out to say the APC has obviously proven it is a terrorist organization, and that they would, as much as possible, try to make sure that what happens is inevitably what it takes. Now, we got to see a particular video that trended on social media very recently. Oji Kalu has not been advocating for President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu, or rather has not been advocating for Nnamdi Kanu. He called Nnamdi Kanu's prison sentencing as saying that because of him, 30 persons died. Although IPOB has denounced all of that and said that's not possible. But there is a video where Nnamdi Kanu was advocating for the release of Oji Kalu. Can you remember when he was going through corruption allegations and he was in custody? Nnamdi Kanu said that Oji Kalu is not his friend, he doesn't consent with him, he is not an affiliate with him, but the fact that Oji Kalu is an Igbo man, he ought to be released. So a lot of Nigerians, specifically from the southeastern extraction, have been wondering why Oji Kalu has been speaking against Nnamdi Kanu or not advocating for his release, just like Nnamdi Kanu did when he was in custody. I want us to take a listen to this back through of when Nnamdi Kanu was speaking concerning Oji Kalu.
He is a fraud for money laundering. He's the richest man in Africa by fortune. Mad people everywhere. Abba Kyari put himself on the board of an NPC. He appointed his own daughter the vice president of Nigeria's sovereign wealth fund. All the overseas investments of Nigeria, Abba Kyari's daughter is in charge. This is nepotism of the highest order. But he's our chief of staff. He's a good man. Here, do you see what I call Nigerians zoo animals? You see that? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He is the one that distributes every post in the zoo because, of course, he's the facto president. Before you see the shambolic Buhari, which is a Jubril Al-Sudan, he must go through him and give him his own money. He was the one that ordered the countless massacre of civilians. What the Janjaweed, the funny headmen are doing was so making. To tell you how foolish they are. After creating Boko Haram, after stealing, I told you that you see the Janjaweed from the north. They love, nobody steals, they are criminals. And you're keeping Oji Kalu in jail. I don't like him. He was a traitor. But he's answering an Iwanem.
Olisametu is asking an Igbo name. They cannot be in jail when people who should be in jail are busy walking free. Or telling me they're fighting corruption. I will destroy the zoo. Also, Kalu must be released. So to Olisametu and all the Christians that are holding. Any day you want to have anti-corruption tribunal, let all of you criminals gather together in a hall and judge yourselves. Not this stupid selective persecution and not persecution. This criminal Abba appointed himself and his children was investigated. Down to look at Yusuf Buhari. Look at the children of Omar Diko, the children of Abacha. That's how they loot. That's how they steal. Then in the next 10 years now, they'll be telling Nnamdi, but we are millionaires. We are the richest people in Africa. But nobody will talk about how your grandparents stole money. As Dangote is doing that, just man, he is a fraud for money laundering. He's the richest man in Africa by football. Mad people everywhere. Abba Kyari put himself on the board of NNPC. He appointed his own daughter the vice president of Nigeria's Sovereign Wealth Fund. All the overseas investments of Nigeria, Abba Kyari's daughter is in charge. This is nepotism of the highest order. But he's our chief of staff. He's a good man. Hey, do you see why I call Nigerians zoo animals? You see that? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He is the one that distributes every post in the zoo because, of course, he's the facto president. Before you see the shambolic Buhari, who is Jubilee after that, he must go through him and give him his own money. He was the one that ordered the countless massacre of civilians. What the Janjaweed, the Fulani headsmen are doing was so making. But to tell you how foolish they are.
Okay, so sorry. So sorry for laughing. Do you know I was laughing because of oh my god. I'm sorry. It's the description. The zoo Janjaweed. Oh my god. Okay. All right, I think I understand the reason why Muhammadu Buhari decided to take it upon himself, along with his close cabinet members, to ensure that Nnamdi Kanu was brought back to Nigeria to face the consequences of all his utterances and descriptions that he ascribed to Buhari and his cohorts. The whole zoo, Fulani, Janjaweed, Jubril of Sudan, everything. Now, well, it's again the reason why I played that throwback while Nnamdi Kanu was in the UK was when Kalu was in custody. He was undergoing, he was being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for alleged misappropriation of funds and corruption allegations against him while he was the governor of Abia State. And so while he was in detention at the time, Nnamdi Kanu was soliciting for his release, saying that a lot of them are looters, they are enablers, they have embezzled, they are also very into corruption. So if they haven't judged themselves, if they haven't been able to prosecute themselves, if they have not also looked into themselves, why would they have to use Kalu as a scapegoat? So Nnamdi Kanu believed that, according to him, with whatever means he was going to use to destroy the zoo, as he referred Nigeria to at the time, he said that he would ensure that the zoo would not have peace and that Kalu should be released as soon as possible. So this throwback came when Kalu made the statement he made on a live television program with Shinwa Kimbaloye on Channels Television, where he said that Nigerians, especially those of the Igbo extraction, should not be too emotional about the situation with Nnamdi Kanu, when he also made allegations that it was because of Nnamdi Kanu, 30,000 Southeasterners died because of his rhetorics and narratives, where obviously IPOB has come out to counter all of the things that he said. Kalu also in the same breath disclosed that President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu knows what he is doing while they're trying to lobby and see how Nnamdi Kanu would be freed through a means of resolution, conflict resolution, or there'll be a will I say, negotiation between Nnamdi Kanu and the federal government. Well, in all of this, Nigerians have come down hard on Orji's Kalu by calling him a sellout, a betrayer, someone who only understands his stomach, someone who has not really been a leader of the Southeastern extraction, but being someone who has only advocated for himself, his belly, and his family. They brought videos of his palaces or houses of several expats in the United Kingdom and the United States and said that this is the only thing that the Southeastern leaders do only for themselves, rather than having to look for means through which their regions could be developed, rather than always complaining that the Southeast has been sidelined, marginalized, isolated, or not seen as part of Nigeria. A couple of persons feel that the problem of the Southeast has been its leaders who have refused to understand the importance of collective productivity by productively enhancing its people, enhancing its economy, and ensuring that in days to come and generations to come, if at all the clamor for Biafra is something they would go into, the Southeast would look economically ready for it. So they have really come down hard on Orji Uzor. Well, in that particular regard as well, it's not surprising with the reaction from Nigerians. In the meantime, however, I'm sure a couple of us already know that because of what transpired in the White House just yesterday, 2 National Guards in the Washington, D.C. were shot by unknown persons. And what happened, the shutdown of the White House temporarily was as a result of these 2 National Guards who were stationed there who were killed. Now, the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Niem, disclosed a development on her verified X account, stating that 2 members of the National Guard had been hit. And according to law enforcement briefings, the gun attack happened near the Farragut Square district and specifically around a block near the busy Farragut metro station. The shooting comes amid a controversial troop deployment to Washington ordered by President Donald Trump. Caroline Levitt, White House press secretary, disclosed that Trump was briefed after that incident. The Washington police spokesperson noted that officers were immediately deployed to secure the perimeter and investigate the gunfire source. Now, an expert formerly known as Twitter, the DC Metropolitan Police said they are at the crime scene and advised people to avoid the area. The police did not confirm if there were other casualties aside from the 2 police National Guards or the 2 National Guards who were shot down, but the law enforcement officials disclosed that 2 National Guard members were shot. Now, how are Nigerians reacting to this? A couple of Nigerians, specifically of the APC extraction supporters of the All Progressives Congress, have said that how is the US also going through its own situation with internal security, wanting to deploy its own military to come invade Nigeria and help rout out Boko Haram and ISWAP, if at the juncture of the White House some certain persons could shoot at its National Guard, very close to the presidency? So you haven't secured your perimeter, you haven't secured your safety, you've not used your military mind to secure yourself, you've not used your intelligence capacity to realize that there were some underhand dealings that intend to sabotage your government, or certain persons plan to possibly destroy the supposed serenity of the White House, and you think that you can handle ISWAP and Boko Haram in Nigeria. So why don't you focus on the internal wranglings in your country rather than focusing on Nigeria? The only thing we're asking you to do is to provide assistance in whatever way for us to handle our situation, rather than you boasting that you want to come and invade a nation. So this tells you that security is something that every nation is handling and dealing with, and it is not susceptible to just Nigeria, that even you, the supposed power nation, the United States, is going through it. 2 of your National Guards close to the White House, the very seat of power in the United States, were shut down. What have you done? What have you said, other than, telling us that you're drafting a team to come down to Nigeria to help us rout out Boko Haram? Well, I've been back and forth about it on X and social media yesterday when it happened, and it has actually brought the conversation as to why would the US disclose to us that they intend to send their military deployment to Nigeria. There have been a lot of misinterpretations about what Trump said. Trump did not say he was coming to take over the country or usurp the sovereignty of Nigeria. Trump has said that the Christian genocide in Nigeria cannot continue while he is the United States of America president. He would draft his military and come guns a-blazing and rout out those guys. He has also referred to a couple of high-profile individuals within the cabinet of President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu being responsible for the insecurity and the Christian genocide in Nigeria. He also talked about the lack of political will and the dexterity to do something about insecurity, and that he would ensure that if the government of Tinubu decides to continue to collaborate with this extremist to continue to buy Christians, he would then have to come in. While the APC supporters have said, Trump, have you been able to deal with the situation in your country? Can you imagine 2 National Guards close to the White House shorts with all your military might and your intelligence gathering methods you did not deduce as something was going to happen close to your house or close to your doorstep? In other words, like I was saying, they were all talking about the fact that insecurity can happen anywhere and everywhere, anytime, regardless of whatever military armament that you have or whatever intelligence source that you can gather within a short space of time. It can happen unprecedented. It is how you're able to handle it. In the meantime, while Nigerians are going through thinking of how to protect themselves, 2027 is also on the horizon. Atiku Abubakar has eventually joined the ADC, and groundwork and mobilization has begun. He said President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu will have his run-in. The ADC as a political party will be the only major opposition, while a couple of other politicians who want to defect to the ADC are waiting and trying to see how the party intends to put itself in prospect in terms of being strong as an opposition to defeat President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu. The ADC is also mobilizing across all the regions. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in 2023, had disclosed to us that this November he was going to tell us the political party that he would join. So far, we haven't heard anything. Well, next week, Monday, is going to be December 1. We still have a couple of days before November expires for Peter Obi to tell us what political party he would be campaigning in. A couple of people believe that it's going to be the ADC, while others do believe that it's going to be the Labour Party. But there are talks that the Labour Party has been internally destroyed. They have imploded the party and made the party extremely vulnerable. There is no more trust on the Labour Party. So why would Peter Obi want to run with the Labour Party? We also had talks about the PDP lobbying with Peter Obi as well. But we're already seeing what is going on with the PDP, the Yesu Wike faction and the Seyi Makinde faction. Right now, it feels like the PDP has been obliterated. So it doesn't seem like a potential strong party for any person to run in as a presidential candidate. Then the next opposition party that you may consider to be quite strong-willed could be the SDP. But so far, obviously, since Nasir El-Rufai supposedly has joined the ADC, there is a very strong potential that the SDP is not a major competition. So the next political party that can be considered as a competition for the All Progressives Congress is the ADC. There are also talks that Peter Obi will be the vice president or be picked as a vice to Atiku Abubakar. Nothing is confirmed yet. These are just supporters who are saying, Peter, if the APC says you will never be president because of your ethnicity, because of where you come from, it is better for you to be a partner, that is, be a vice to Atiku Abubakar. But you recall that in 2019, these two people ran together, Atiku as the president and Peter Obi as the vice. It didn't work. Others have said that 2019 wasn't 2023. Peter Obi got a lot of value in 2023, and he has that following. That also talks about Peter Obi's obedient movement, how a couple of persons have left the movement and a couple of persons are watching to see how the obedient movement would organize itself to push Peter Obi and give him an edge. Whichever way it is, political machinations and strategy are ongoing. Peter Obi is still trying to lobby and see how Nigerians in diaspora could fully be part of the elections. Also, there are talks about electoral reform. While Nigeria is battling insecurity, the politics is still very underway. The security situation in Nigeria has debilitated the strength and the trust in the All Progressives Congress. So, in other words, Nigerians believe that the only way the APC could win the 2027 elections could be through rigging, through forcefully intimidating persons, through creating voter apathy and ensuring that people don't participate for them to rig the elections. However, President BOLA Ahmed Tinubu's administration and its means of politicking is basically tribal, and it is disclosed. They're not hiding it. It is tribal. They don't care about his incompetency or his inefficiency, so long as he is a Yoruba man and he belongs to the Southwest. Whether he's doing well or not, he is their brother and they will vote for him. In other words, they are telling the rest of Nigerians that vote for any political candidate that comes from your tribe before competence. That's what some of his supporters have been saying on social media. Well, it's quite unfortunate that that is the kind of prerogative for some certain persons, and that's the kind of politics that we're running now. But it's also very unfortunate that our politics is not all inclusive, rather more divisionary, and that is why when the situation with insecurity and Trump coming in to say we want to make sure that Boko Haram and ISWAP does not continue to kill Christians, we had a divided polity. Some Nigerians supported it, and while those who are supporting the government said no, you cannot allow that. A country that doesn't understand the importance of unity and taking everyone in an inclusive method in making decisions will always go through this, and that is one of the problems BOLA Ahmed Tinubu's administration is facing right about now. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever it is that we try to do right at this point in time, I would implore you to subscribe to SIG Media. I'll continue to give you updates on what's happening in Nigeria as a country. It's a very beautiful and peculiar country. We do hope that the leaders that we'll have will stop being selfish and personally think of how to develop Nigeria as a whole, and that when you have a productive and viable nation, you will definitely have a prosperous country that would attract tourism, international investment, and make every group, every ethnic group inclusive. As it stands now, Nigerians have decided to protect themselves by all means, and it's actually quite dangerous, because if everyone begins to arm themselves, there could be a very little squabble, and before you know, people are buying each other, and that's terrible. That is very terrible. So I'd like to know what you think based on the topics of interest I've been able to raise out. Your comments, suggestions in the comment section. Please share this video. I would implore you to like and share. Your comments will be very, very welcome. It's very vital and welcome. For our Southeastern brothers, I want you to keep the hope alive. You have always been industrious, very hardworking. You have always been the subject of ridicule in this country, very true, but you have always stayed afloat, extremely stayed afloat. A lot of you who are on social media, specifically those who don't understand how it works, a couple of Southeasterners are not on social media. They're all about minding their business, making their money. Some of them don't even know how to use X or Twitter or Facebook. Well, they get to be on Facebook to keep themselves updated, but sometimes some of the information on Facebook is not accurate. It's filled with propaganda and fake news, but you get accurate information sometimes on X. However, they are not the ones on X. It is the young ones who are on X. I would implore you to go on social media to begin to debunk some of the narratives. I know you're facing your business and trying to mind and make sure that you make your money, but it's also important for you to be aware of what is going on in your polity. So let's kind of get ourselves objectively, intellectually edified with happenings in the country and not rely on propaganda or fake information. Please work together with your neighbor. Be very careful. Watch your back. Don't get into any vice that could put you in trouble. It's imperative that you don't put yourself in trouble, because I'm sure you may not even have any immunity to sustain or help yourself out of this. So just do your business clean and legally. Don't get into any vice. It's very, very important. My name is Esther Wachuku. Like I said earlier, subscribe. Bye for now.